Cyberbrainer is an online training platform designed to help individuals and teams learn the latest technologies and become certified professionals, producing a comprehensive learning experience.
So it will skip that level and go next to Carol About now. It will go next to Carol About. We see Carol About at a director level, so definitely it will go across to Carol About because he's at a director level. And who's about a Carol About is next? It is a bar, a director. Definitely. Then Daryl Parker is going to be also in the chain. Alright, Daryl Parker is a director level. He's not at a director level. So it is going to skip that. And then next it will go to Max Millen, who's at a CEO level. He's also not at a director level. It's going to actually skip it all right, and it's going to come out of the loop eventually. So that makes sense to you. Management level. I will manage so much about my nature. What does this criteria have? Alright, see here. I'm saying here management levels in. It is like board of directors, CEO, vice presidents, vice president, board of director, executive director, and manager. Or managers and everybody else. In your criteria, you can say senior consultant plus your director. I can have it the way I can configure. But I choose a simple example of management level here, or manager level, so it's easy for you to understand in the hierarchy. That is a reason I chose that. Clear. The next thing that we have over here is back or job. So batch or job is nothing. But if I want to execute any external job to load some data or any other data, for example as a part of my common business example, I may want to load some of my punch and financial details when an employee is logging into the office and logging out, so I could use a batch or a job to load that particular information. The system example may not be specific to the higher business process that we are seeing, but a common example which I can use to load data from my external vendors or something. Next we have something called as checklist, as the name goes. Say, in a hire I could have a checklist initiated, checklist step initiated to my HR recruiter or somebody to say that these are the checklists that you need to perform, these are the documentations that you need to. Just a common checklist is one you can just create, which can be there either for the candidate recruiter or the manager or anybody if that's all. That's what the checklist is next. Westiness, so this is something which is very, very commonly used. Say, for example, I need to get some information from an employee manager candidate. Say from a candidate perspective or from a future employee perspective. I can get a checklist so I can ask him, how is your own voting experience? Did you have any difficulties? Or as about a hiring itself, I can say that. So this is not something which is only specific to hire, but I can have this as a lot of many such business processes as well, and this is something which we very, very commonly use in so many different business processes. That is number one. And second thing that you may want to note over here is when I'm going to be having a questionnaire, I may get some responses from the candidates. Based on the responses that I receive, I can also have future steps. Conditionalized. For example, say I'm going to create a questionnaire to the future employee asking him, do you require any special commutations because of candidate could be differently able? So I may ask him to, you require any special commutation on your day 1 to attend the session on bullying session? If he's going to respond yes, I can have another criteria, probably A2, and I can give the if criteria for that and say that the candidate requires it. Please contact the transport admin and let the transport admin pick up something which needs to be done. I can have certain actions based on my questionnaire responses as well. Next, consolidated approval. I think we already saw this at the start of this particular session. So if I'm going to have multiple approvals going across the same person, if he's going to approve it just once, then it is. That's it. It's going to be done. It's going to be approved one shot. It's going to be approved for all of his actions, all of his approvals in the future. This is something which we use as a nice to have. Alright, certain clients may prefer this, certain clients may not. So, whenever you want to use this, be mindful about how you're using it. An activity for the day-to-day is going to be, you are going to be testing approval chains, that is, consolidated approvals, approval chains and consolidated approval chains as well. That's going to be the activity for you. So go ahead and have consolidated approvals for multiple approvals, approval steps, and see how it performs. Next one, additional data edit. So for now, edit additional data just. Mark it for now, because this is something like as a part of higher business process, I may have to create additional objects, which is outside of what is already dead. If I have some other customizations which I want to do specific to my hire, I would use edit additional data for now, mark it, because this is a really advanced topic, not just go for our foundation next integration. After hire. For example, I want to have an integration whereby, say, I may have an external payroll vendor to whom I may want to send some payroll information. In that case, I use the integration step whereby I will be sharing this information that I have captured from hire to the external payroll vendor. It could be like Assyrian, A, D, P, or Bay. Next, any of these payroll vendors, I may send this particular data. So that is what an integration step is going to do. Next, report and report groups are for reporting purposes. So at the part of this, if I want to have a report generated and that particular report needs to be sent across for above here for our review by somebody, I will use this, not very commonly used, but just for you knowing purposes, for you to know. That's it. Next, review documents. Say, if I want to have certain documents reviewed, for example, say, as a part of higher business process. I may have the future employer, the candidate, reviews and find certain documents. It could be like a non-disclosure agreement or company terms and agreements. All those stuffs can be sent across to the candidate, and I can also have this integrated with DocuSign, for example. I can also have a very simple level. I can say that once a candidate is being hired, I need to have the as a part of my onboarding process. I need to have the candidate review and sign certain non-disclosure and company policy documents, which means it's definitely sign on day one. I can use this review document step. Ask the candidate to review these documents, sign it and send them across. Send them across in the system. I can do all of this within Workday itself. That is a specific example that we use for review documents. Okay, next, it is a service. So any kind of service or any kind of other related actions that you want to do, I will have it as a part of service. Could be a third-party integration service or other relevant stuff that I want to do. Next is going to be to do. To do is simply put. To do is going to be just checklist or a normal action which is outside of this. For example, I can have a to-do created for a manager and the to-do could be like send a mail across to the asset Steam to allocate laptop, so it could be like a forecasting, which could be like, the manager has to send a mail across to the asset Steam or the in-front team who's not in Workday. So you can just send a note here to the manager. Please check with the in front, the assets team, whether the laptops will be ready on day 1 or not. Some kind of a to-do list that I want to have. It could be anything. What I gave you just a very, very simple common example which we use in any higher business process, but it could be any of them as well. One more important topic that I wanted to discuss over here. Okay, alright, let me just go over here. So now we saw about approval. So over here, right yesterday, those who had configured the approvals. When you went into approval under the chooses an approval, and did you check this particular option over here, which says security groups allowed for the workflow step? However, wonder what is actually feeding the data for this particular step or where this is populated from. Have you wondered where it is coming from? So let me just tell you where this is coming from, because this is something very important, what we call it as business